Kandahar, India on October 2nd, 1869. And Putlabai and Karamchand Gandhi were my parents. I was an only child, and I moved to Rajkot, India on 1876. And at age 13, I married Kasturba Mukherjee Kapadia, as was the custom in India. I always thought it ironic, but my name literally means great soul. I moved to India to study law in 1888. Unfortunately, the first time in court, I was so nervous that I got redder and redder until I sat down in confusion and defeat. Of course, while I was in England, I had to learn English. And I never knew, but the person that taught me English was Irish, so I always spoke English with an Irish accent. Eventually, I got better at law enough to go back to India to start practicing law in 1891. I was hired as a lawyer in South Africa in 1893, and 10 years later, in 1903, I opened up a law office in Johannesburg, South Africa. I moved back to India in 1915. I ended up giving unofficial speeches in the streets that everyone could understand, and convinced many to join whichever freedom movement that I was currently working on, whichever it might be. I was hired as a lawyer in 1893 and in South Africa, and I opened up a law office 10 years later in 1903 in Johannesburg, South Africa. I ended up giving unofficial speeches in the streets that everyone could understand, and convincing many to join whichever freedom movement that I was working at. I returned to India in 1915. I visited jail many times throughout my life. For instance, served 6 years after a big trial in 1922, and again in 1930 for breaking the Indian salt laws during the Salt March to protest the tax on salt, a vital part of daily life if you lived in India. In fact, I visited jail so many times that I humorously referred to it as His Majesty's Hotel. In 1932, I began to fast or go without food or drink to protest the treatment of the Hindu caste of untouchables. The four main Hindu castes are Brahmin, who assist people with worship, Kshatriyas, who are made up of soldiers and nobles, Vaishyas, made up of merchants, farmers, and craftspeople, and Shudras, servants and laborers. I was born into the Vaishyas caste, but I still spoke for the Dalit, or untouchable caste. The Dalit caste are under the main category of Shudra, but even within their own caste, they are shunned at the very bottom of the caste system. Happily, they finally gained some of their own rights, but I wasn't there to see it at the time, because I was currently floating down the Nile in the form of ash following my assassination. I began the All Indian Villages Association in 1934, and then quit India in 1942. Sadly, Kasturba died in 1944 at age 74. On August 14th to 15th, 1947, the India Independence Act was invoked. India finally had freedom from Britain. I died on January 30th, 1948. I died. I was assassinated at a prayer meeting in New Delhi. I won quite a few awards and acknowledgments throughout my life. For instance, there are various temples and monuments and statues located in various places. My birthday and death day are national holidays. I got voted at one point as Person of the Year, and at another point as runner-up to Man of the Century, which eventually went to Albert Einstein. Also, my face appears on every piece of Indian paper currency except for the one rupee note. I find it quite funny that the first words that America heard were by radio, and they were, "Do I have to speak into this thing?" Also, I'm beginning to wonder whether or not it was actually a coincidence that I was born on a Friday, India got its independence on a Friday, I died on a Friday, and Jesus Christ, who I looked up to for ideas, was crucified on a Friday. Well, thank you for coming, and I hope you have enjoyed the presentation.